had an amazing trip last time in the Caribbean with you guys, and with a lot of wonderful people. I had some peak experiences while on the boat and then thereafter, and I'm very grateful for all of them. And my life has been changing quite rapidly, going through that and before that, and I've come to a point now that I've never been to before, and some fear comes up because I want to take this next step.
Well, before you go further, we want to say to you, in the face of fear, don't step. Because all that does, in other words, there are a lot of people that say, oh, you have to push through that fear. But we want you to line up your energy until the fear dissipates before you take the action. In other words, a feeling of fear means I'm taking action too soon. That's what it always means. It means I'm pushing ahead because I should or because somebody else wants me to. I'm pushing ahead, but I don't have my energy lined up, and so no good can come from that. So is there some urgency that you can't take the time to get into alignment before you step?
No. I'm thinking about taking the next 6 months and living on an island in Maui and just living off savings and my investments and getting aligned while I'm there. And obviously while I'm here.
Well, what's scary about that?
Well, the thought comes, what if you don't?
Then you can leave the island.
Yeah, I suppose so.
You're not jumping into shark-infested waters or anything. In other words, you can make another decision. So why the drama around this?
I don't know, maybe I like a little drama in my life.
Maybe. And maybe you're using it to test something. In other words, there are a lot of people who, as you begin to understand your power, then you want to put it to the test, and we are not big encouragers of that. In other words, we would encourage you to, what is it that feels frightening about it? We started to say, we would encourage you to get yourself into a place that the idea of that doesn't feel frightening, but instead feels wonderful. But you know, as we began here today with our friend who was talking about no good deed going unpunished, when you decide that you're going to do something because you want to prove something to yourself, or because you said you would, or because you're trying to make something happen through the action, if you're doing it for any reason other than you feel a compulsion to go there, an impulse to go there. In other words, if you were to say to us, you know, I've been dreaming about this, and I've been thinking about this wonderful place, and I've visualized it for so long, and I feel like I'm in such alignment with it, and there are several people that say I shouldn't do it, but nothing that they're saying is dissuading me at all, because I can hardly wait to get myself over there and begin living this experience. If you were feeling like that, then we would say, well, you've lined up the energy sufficiently, and everything's been pre-paved, and you're going to go and you're going to have a wonderful time. But when you say, I think I want to do this, but I have trepidation about it, then that means the energy is lined up. And while we do not believe that you would have any real trouble, you could go and you would figure it out as you go. It wouldn't be so much different than every other day of your life that you are living. In the context of what you're planning to do about it, we would encourage you to get the energy. We always say this, but we're really saying it here. Get the energy lined up before you take the action. And when the energy is lined up, we'd be having a different conversation. You'd be saying, nobody thinks I should do this, but wild horses can't keep me from it. That's the indication that you're in alignment about it.
At times I do. I feel like that, especially when I'm communicating with my patients and friends and stuff, and I get goosebumps all over as I talk about it. And then there's a part of me that, when I'm not talking about it and I'm focused on, well, obviously something else, I don't feel the connection.
Well, then there are the times when you're feeling the goosebumps, that conversation is in alignment. The time you're feeling the discord, that time is not in alignment. And the question is, how much airplay are each of those different vibrations getting? And And so you say, well, I feel much more happy about it than I feel not happy about it. And we say, well, it may be that the balance of your vibration is enough that you could go and it would be relatively uneventful, not painful, and that things would unfold. But you are an aligner of energy. Why not line the energy up? Why mess around with this at all? Our favorite story about overcoming fear is Jerry, as an actor, about to get on a horse, and the horse was far too frisky, and so he asked the wrangler for a different horse, and the wrangler made fun of him. He said, "You're afraid of that horse, aren't you?" And Jerry said, "No, I'm not afraid of the horse." He actually was. "No, I'm not afraid of the horse. I just don't want it to be disruptive." But Jerry could feel that this was not the horse for him to sit on. And the wrangler said, "Well, I'm not afraid of that horse." And he jumped on the horse. And when he got on the horse's back, the horse reared its head back and knocked his teeth out. And as Jerry is telling the story to us many years later, we said that wrangler had overcome his fear. He had overcome his sense of vibrational relationship. He had numbed himself out. He had decided to take action and let his action speak louder than everything. And so, not paying attention to his vibration over time, he had no guidance, so he didn't have sense to know what was coming. Jerry could sense something like that was coming and didn't want to step forward into it. So we're not talking about overcoming fear. We're talking about lining up energy so there is absence of fear. Fear is indication that something's out of alignment. We would never encourage you to move forward when you are feeling that way. And when you think back, Jerry and Esther have a situation going on, and when Esther thinks back about it, she could feel the discord in it from the moment that she began thinking about it. In other words, she could feel that this was not a vibrational match. But when anytime you move forward, before you get things into alignment, you find yourself understanding what that feeling was about. We call that post-manifestational awareness. You're having pre-manifestational awareness. You say,
Yeah.
I'm having some fear. Does that mean I shouldn't go? No. It means clean up your vibration before you go. Or don't clean up your vibration, go, and you'll have some post-manifestational awareness. And you'll say, oh yeah, I recognize that. Good.
All right, thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Think about sight, and think about all the things that you could look at, and then just say to yourself, I have this gift of sight for the pleasure that it brings to me. I have this gift of sound for the pleasure that it brings to me. This sensual feeling of touch, my physical body has all of these sensory perceivers within it, all for the pleasure that it brings to me. My sense of taste, all for the pleasure that it brings to me. What other reason would there be for that? What other reason would there be for the sense of taste other than for the pleasure of that which it brings to you? Can you think of any other reason? You just didn't get planted here with your inability to see or hear or smell or taste or touch. You came with the ability to translate vibrationally for the purpose of, and we want you to feel what the purpose of it is, for the joy of your physical experience. And you came with the ability to think for the pleasure of your personal experience, you see. And humans have kind of got off that track. You think you got to think to solve problems. That's not what it's about. You're thinking for the pleasure of the thought. And when you start reaching for the thought because of the pleasure that it could possibly give you, then you don't say you're sorry because that's not a pleasurable thought. And you don't say you're nervous because that's not a pleasurable thought. You focus your mind in ways that brings you pleasure, and then you sustain that vibration, and then you live the life that you came to live. We like to encourage focus and awareness of what the focus brings. And so we encourage choosing things that you don't have resistance practiced about. In other words, if a person has wanted a car, and they don't want just any car, they want that car. And that car doesn't just cost a little, that car costs a lot. And they don't have that kind of discretionary income right now. And since they're equating having that with spending that, and spending that with earning that, then they have some obstacles in their path that they have to overcome. So we like to encourage them to get the hang of this by using the power of their mind, spending the vibrational currency on things that the universe can yield to them right now, for not very much time, an hour or two, and watch how many demonstrations the universe will give you that lets you know that we are all aware of what you're talking about, aware of what you want, aware of where what you want is, and aware of how to lead you to it. And boom, again and again and again and again and again, you're going to have that affirming experience that lets you know that you are the center of the universe, that there are masses that are standing in the wings where you can't see them, that are in on what you are in on, assisting you, you see. You begin to feel never alone. You begin to feel always involved. You begin to know your power and your value and your worthiness, you see. And it doesn't take very much of that before you say, oh, I like that. What about that? I like that. What about that? So that you begin directing the energy. And what you'll learn both about monetary currency and vibrational currency is the more of it that you spend out the bottom, the more of it comes back in the top. In other words, you'll just find yourself so involved in the expenditure of this energy that feels good, and therefore the equivalent reciprocant of more energy coming back in, that it's not like, have you ever had a nest egg, a little clump of cash that you really didn't want to spend because that you didn't know how soon you were going to get more back in, and so you didn't want it to go out because it felt like diminishing? Well, this is the opposite of that, because the more of this you spend, the more comes back in, until you begin to understand that you can have a little bit that you're rotating, or you can have a lot that you're rotating. You can have a little clarity that you're rotating through you, or a lot that you're rotating through you. You can have a little bit of cash that's rotating through your experience, or you can have a lot of cash that's rotating through your experience. Our favorite conversation about the universe demonstrate, we would encourage all of you to make a short list, maybe as soon before you even drive out of the parking lot. Just get something to write on and make a short list of something that you would like to see that doesn't cost any money necessarily. It could, but it doesn't cost any money. Just something that you're interested in seeing. Just pick something. Write 3 or 4 things on your list and watch how fast the universe brings it to you. Not once, but twice, but again and again and again and again and again and again and again, in demonstration that we saw you write it down. We know what you meant by it. We know where all of those things are. We know where you are in relationship to all of those things. And when you're feeling good like you are today, there's going to be plenty of demonstrations of that alignment. And once you show yourself that with that list, then you can make an endless list.